what's great about sports. This is what the greatest thing about sports is. You play to win the game. Hello? You play to win the game.
Winning isn't everything, but it's the only thing. In our business, there is no second place. Either you're first or you're last.
Ain't this what they've been waiting for? You ready?
And now, the W with Walls and the Crew.
Good morning.
Where winning isn't everything, it's the only thing. On 100.1 FM.
Good morning.
And Facebook Live.
Good morning. Right back like we never left. Another Saturday morning with the W Show, Kansas City, talking sports and pop culture. If this is your first time checking us out, we greatly appreciate you making us a part of your Saturday morning. Good morning, y'all.
What is?
What's happening?
Shine.
How was everyone's week?
Man,
Felt like the longest week ever.
Really?
Honestly.
Really?
Yeah. Really did.
I had a good week, man. It was the Black Engineers Convention was in town, so it was pretty busy.
How was that, man?
It was good. I didn't do the convention, but I did one of the offsite spaces
Nice.
at Keystone, and it was pretty cool. A
Nice.
lot of bright futures in the building. So
Pretty dope.
Thank
Jazz,
you.
what'd you do this week?
I mean, we got to kick off our girl power conversation
Nice.
earlier in the week, so that was exciting. Other than that, yeah, I feel like it was just kind of a slow roller long week.
Nice. Mine was kind of fast paced as well. Didn't really do much, but it was still fast. Flew by. Yep. Time flies when you're having fun. All right, we've got a lot to talk about on today's show. Friend of the show, now former Chiefs wide receiver Mecole Hardman agrees to a 1-year deal with the Jets worth up to $6.5 million.
you excited about that?
I am for Mecole. Yeah. Going to play with Aaron Rodgers, all that, possibly play with Aaron Rodgers. So we'll dive into that. And here's one that our KU viewers are going to hate that we talk about. But Kansas State basketball advances to the Elite Eight with a 98-93 overtime win over Michigan State.
Tomato.
The purple wave.
And if you didn't watch the World Baseball Classic, shame on you. Because it was probably one of the best baseball games that I've ever seen. Shohei Ohtani, he closed out Team USA as Japan won their 3rd title in the World Baseball Classic. We'll dive into that a little bit later. And a mind-boggling story that I can't wait to talk about. So an NFL memo warns teams they are prohibited from negotiating with non-NFLPA-certified agent concerning Lamar Jackson. Go figure. It's very laughable, though. Like, yeah, very.
Definitely.
All right, and coming up in about 30 minutes, we'll have our sneakers of the week during our Hate It or Love It segment. Let's get to today's headlines.
And now, here are the biggest sports headlines from this week. We bring them to you every Saturday morning on the W with Walls and the Crew on 100.1 FM and Facebook Live.
Friend of the show, wide receiver Mecole Hardman, agreed to a 1-year deal with the Jets worth up to $6.5 million. Steve, are you truly excited about this one?
I am. I know Tyreek tweeted when it all went down. He tweeted the last of the Legion of Zoom is no more. Of course, the Legion of Zoom was Tyreek Hill, Mecole Hardman, DeMarcus Robinson, Sammy Watkins, and there was one more in there. I'm missing, but now they don't have anybody from that 2019 glorious Super Bowl run.
Yeah.
So I just think now it's kind of out with the old, in with the new, if that's okay to say. You know, Mecole injury had bugged him this year, in and out kind of early on, and then of course it was just no, he's not playing. He was a healthy scratch, I think, in the Super Bowl, and ended up having to have surgery in the offseason. So I think, you know, with him, he's been a part of 2 championship teams, won 2 Super Bowl rings. Now it's like you got to go get paid. And that sometimes, I mean, a lot of times you don't get to say that as a young NFL star or up and coming star. You don't get to say that about players going into their second deal. It's like, I've won 2 Super Bowls already. What else is there for me to do? You know, so I'm going to just go get paid. So $6.5 million on 6 months of work. I think he should be okay with that.
No, definitely. He as far as the Legion of Zoom comment, I mean, I think the Chiefs organization has adopted like the Patriot way. And you look at the Patriot way from those Tom Brady teams. There was never really a mainstay of weapons around him, except for Gronk. I think Gronk stayed there a while, but it was always pieced together as far as like wide receivers, running backs, the specialty players. But I feel like the Chiefs would go after some speed in the draft. I don't know if they're able to land any of the big free agent splashes at receiver. I mean, who's still out there? DeAndre Hopkins, OBJ. You got a couple of big names that can be moved around, and I think we'll see a lot of movement within the draft. But I don't know if they're going to go too young. And I don't think they should go too young because you still need that veteran. But I mean, how do you feel about the outlook of the roster at this point?
I think they'll be right now. They have experience. You look at some of the young guys that they had last year, because Mecole was out of the equation. If you think about it, Mecole was out of the equation last year for most of the year, and then into the Super Bowl. So I think Sky Moore is going to have to step up. Coming to his own, and I think going into the Super Bowl, his confidence wasn't there, but the success that he had in the big game itself, I think that's going to kind of catapult him into this season. And then, their number one target, of course, is Travis Kelce. I mean, he's listed as a tight end, but to me, he's their number one receiver. All of last year was like, oh, we need a number one. The Chiefs need a number one. Who's going to be the number? I think it's always Travis Kelce. If he's playing, then he's the number one target. And then you just look across the board, you still have Marquez Valdez-Scantling, MVS, as some folks would call him.
You got Tony.
You had Kadarius Toney. I think that is the addition that folks, because he could do everything that Mecole could do. He can do kickoff return. He can do punt return. And he's capable of doing it all. So I think that was the weapon that they're like, oh, we have Mecole here. So we're gonna go with him. And I think they'll pick up a couple more pieces.
And I think as far as a hit from him in the locker room, I think they've already kind of adjusted to playing without him. Like you said, I don't think it's going to be much of a drop off. If anything, it's kind of starting from square one and up from here, since they've already had to adjust and make different people step into that role. I think they shouldn't skip a beat, honestly.
Yeah. And even being drafted as like an emergency plan for Tyreek. I mean, do you feel like that's why he was drafted?
Of course.
Okay.
Of course.
Do you feel like he exceeded those expectations?
I would say in spots, if that makes sense. He came up and you look at the 2020 run for the Super Bowl, even looking at last year, he made some pretty big plays during the regular season and into the playoffs. He was a threat after Tyreek on punt return. I don't think he did kickoff return. I think that was more Byron Pringle.
Yeah.
But on punt return, he was a legit threat. To where they wouldn't, you know how sometimes they, sometimes teams don't kick to you because you could be that threat. And I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
Interesting. Now, Kansas State basketball advances to Elite Eight with 98-93 overtime win over Michigan State. I'm definitely not speaking on this one. First, Q, I will let you have it.
Get the salt out of your mouth first. I mean, geez, this should be a low sodium diet, I thought, when you're working out. We're going to have to get Chelsea on you for that. But no, I like to see it. I mean, it's Kansas State looks like a really good young team. And then the young guy, what's his name? What number one? What's his name? Noel. Yes. Is he not an NBA prospect right now? Like, cause his highlights look really good, and I mean, even the fake arguing with the coach and then throwing the alley oop, like that was a crazy play. But I'm excited for the Manhattan students, a lot of the engineers that were in town this week. So
yeah, I mean, I said this on Facebook, and I had a lot of people agree with me. I had a lot of people that didn't agree with me. The K-State, to me, because we always look at when you think of Big 12, who do you think of?
KU.
You think of KU. So that being said, I feel like you always kind of put your team, the other teams up in the Big 12 against KU, and like how they match up. And I felt like K-State has the much better roster than KU. If you just look at and I can say body of work this season, I mean K-State, they have a great point guard. They have a good 2-3 guard. And then their big man, I mean, he's solid. He's very athletic, can jump out the gym. So to me, I think K-State, and I think right now, their coach this year was better. To be honest,
do you think Tang is bringing a different type of style of coaching or even recruiting to the Big 12?
I do. I think he's youth, if that makes sense. I think he's definitely bringing a youth aspect to the Big 12, because when you think of Bill Self, I mean, he's getting older. I think Bill Self is 62, 63. Tang is 54, 53, 54, something like that. And he's been in it a while. People say, oh, well, he's just this new coach. But no, he coached at Baylor for 19 years. As an assistant coach. And so I think the recruiting part of it, he's got that down. And then matching that up with like the NIL deals, that Manhattan, because I've heard of the deals that they are able to give down there in Manhattan, and they're crazy. Because I mean, they have no other. I mean, you think about the sports in Manhattan. What do you have? Football, and basketball, college sports,
and you have tons of agriculture and everything out there. So.
Yeah, so I just think K-State has the much better team. I mean, just looking at what KU had, other than Jalen, who did you have? You had no other go-to. And I think that would be the game plan, is just stop Jalen and you win the game. And we saw how that happened. We saw how that worked out. And Jazz.
And do you feel like with this K-State team, do you feel like it is more of a flash in the pan type of success, or do you think Tang can really sustain this success out there in Manhattan?
I said flash in the pan only because this year it was a ton of transfers coming in. So like the argument has been, yes, a little bit salty. Of course, I'm going to fight it, but I would be more impressed to see him coach up a squad that's there consistently, who has the chemistry, versus a bunch of transfers thrown together. Yes, I see the success. Obviously, he did well, but I would like to see him sustain and make chemistry between athletes and make them good, versus bringing a bunch of guys in from somewhere else that happen to click.
Yeah.
This could be a way for the 1 or 2 years that it happened to click, and then I want to see how you can coach your squad up from there.
Good coaches can make it happen.
Yeah.
I think when you look at just the team that I think of when you think of like college basketball and players that are the one and done notion, I think of Kentucky.
Yeah.
I think of John Calipari and how he used to make that happen. When I think of 4-year schools, I think of KU, I think of Duke, how you're able to basically take kids from nothing and make them into basketball players. So I think this could be kind of a mixture of in between, because you had a guy like Noel that stayed around, that was in a losing situation and was like, hey, no, we got this new coach coming in. I've heard a lot about him. I heard good things, so I'm going to stay. And then he matched him up with a guy that was counted out, and was Keontae Johnson, right? So I think we talk about it with the Chiefs all the time, and Andy Reid, how he looks at his players, and players will run through a wall for him, and they see that around the league. And I think other guys in the transfer portal that are going to be going into the transfer portal will see that as like, man, these guys love that coach. They listening to we talked about it off air. They listening to Lil Baby in the locker room. Like, oh man, coach is really with it.
Yeah.
I don't think this is going to be like a one and done type thing. I think this is going to be, when you make it to the Elite Eight, Sweet 16, Elite Eight, You have a lot of eyeballs on you.
Yeah.
All those McDonald Americans are looking like, man, maybe I should pick K-State. They're hitting Keontae up like, hey, man, what's it like? Noel, what's it like? Your coach really lets you play? Q, you mentioned looking at the coach on the sideline and then throwing a oop. Oh, y'all really do that down there? Okay. Yeah. Now there's a lot of eyeballs that wouldn't normally be had they just played in the Big 12 and made the NIT.
And I think I think we're noticing I think we're witnessing a shift in college basketball. You're seeing a lot of the blue bloods are, I won't say it no longer, but you're starting to see a shift in a lot of the teams that are competitive, that do make it deep into the tournament. It seems like college basketball every year, the tournament is starting to get some kind of like, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like a balance almost, because it's not like college football where every top recruit goes to the SEC, and then some might filter to the Big 12. But you see a lot of players come up, and especially a lot of these mid majors, and then these teams that you aren't expecting, these K-States and different teams every year that, they're getting the talent, and it's different for me because even coming up, I don't think I would want to be in a Lawrence, Kansas or Manhattan, Kansas as a star athlete, but some guys seemingly just make it work, and being able to come out and have the confidence in yourself to go to these smaller schools, and then be able to do well in the tournament. That helps NBA chances, and I'm excited to see a lot of these guys really transition to the next level.
And I mentioned, Coach, you sometimes, well, not sometimes, a lot of times we see it now that these kids want a coach that looks like them.
Yeah.
And he's definitely got the swag, and so to speak, of a good coach.
And that was my question, because you look at the difference between Tang and a Bill Self. I would take Bill Self as not necessarily like a military style coach. Like,
I can't. But now one caveat to that, I would say Bill Self rides for his guys. Like Bill is like cool.
And to that point, that's where I was gonna say, did you not feel like the players wouldn't run through the wall for Bill Self? I know it's excuses now, but it would have been nice to have Bill Self. So that's
they would have won. I can say that they would have won. They would have won if they had Bill.
100%. And I think that's where a little bit of my salt comes from, even though it is even though it is a little bit of hate as well. But it would have been nice to have Coach Bill Self. It definitely would have.
Salt Bay.
Now, did you guys notice, speaking of the portals and everything, 4 of the KU players did enter the transfer portal after that loss, including Yesufu. Surprise? No surprise?
I'm very surprised at that. Because I haven't looked to see what KU has coming. But I'm sure he's heard.
Yeah.
When you enter the transfer portal, it's only a couple of reasons why. You're either upset at the coach for playing time or whatever, or there's another kid coming in that's going to possibly take your job because he's better than you.
Yeah.
And then you're looking elsewhere to try to find a better situation. So to me, he got
substantial PT. Yeah, that's it. Came to a surprise for me.
But is he to the? I think it could be he sees DeJuan as a threat, maybe because DeJuan's not going to come off the ball. Like you're not going to put DeJuan over at the 2 and have him playing off the ball. His shot isn't good enough. So Yesufu is not big enough to me to play Bill Self-style basketball at the 2. He's a small point guard. Like that's just what he is. He has a jumper, but it's not as good as a bigger 6'5", 6'6".
Who was their last couple of 2s? It was
Christian.
Oh, Christian was
Christian played the 2, 3. When you think of 2, I think Devontae Graham played a little 2 guard because you had Frank Mason at the point. Devontae.
That's right.
2.
Yeah. Devontae Graham definitely.
So I can see why he would enter the portal, but leave KU.
Yeah. He was getting PT. If he wasn't getting PT, I can almost see it, but it seemed like he was almost getting thrown into the rotation at times, forcing PT.
Yep.
So it was like they had somewhat faith in him.
Yeah.
To put him in those positions. But what do you think K-State will need to do to keep it rolling?
They're gonna have to. And I was listening to some. I may have read this, but K-State was one of the teams that had to look into the transfer portal for guys. And I don't know what their recruitment is like right now, who they're going to recruit. Now I'm pretty sure if we just look how Baylor recruits, that's kind of going to be the style that they recruit. Guys that are 6'6", 6'7", that can handle the ball and shoot a little bit. That's Baylor's MO.
Yeah.
And so they're gonna have to recruit well.
Even in this tournament, though, what do you think that they?
I think they're gonna at least make the Final Four. I think they'll be who are they playing? Who they have playing, Broderick? FAU. So I think they're gonna beat them.
Do you think the point guard's going to be enough to keep on running the floor? I mean, he did have the assist, but at what point?
People are saying that and I know they're going like as Noel goes, but it's on Keontae Johnson.
True.
Like
True.
People are throwing Noel out there, but I'm like, are y'all watching the same game that I'm watching? I'm like, Noel took some dumb shots at the end of the game that could have lost them.
Yeah.
That he took two. At the end of regulation, he tried to shoot the ball from the logo. I'm like, dude, are you serious?
Yeah.
Are you shooting? You're up by 2.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't even a heat check. It was just like, dude,
what are you doing?
40
he ran the
seconds
shot clock
left.
down.
Yeah, come on. His strength is getting into the lane and creating.
Right.
And he went away from that at the end of the game. He could have lost them the game twice on just that shooting threes from crazy distances. And I'm like, come on, bro.
I mean, does it look like he has that type of green light?
He does. Yeah, he can shoot from there, but not at that point. Like, not.
And a hand in your face too. It definitely wasn't unguarded either.
Yeah.
Like it was. Why are you
7 seconds? He's shooting from the logo.
Yeah. Twice.
Top of the key. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it hadn't hit one in the game. I can see if you had already hit a couple, then you heat check it. But nah, man, nah. But K-State, I think K-State could make a run. They've already made a run, but I think they could. K-State, Texas.
I would love to see Texas win it, I will say. But to get the salt out of my mouth, Q, the dunk was nasty. I'll give them that. The dunk was very nasty. Do I have K-State all the way? No, I'm taking Texas still.
Oh.
Shout out Christian Brown, Lee Summit kid. Not Christian Brown, Bishop. I'm sorry. But yeah, I got to rep the Lee Summit kid in this one.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Go Texas.
I do have Texas winning on my bracket, by the way. So it's out there. It's on paper.
We'll see. Okay. Now, World Baseball Classic closes out Team USA as Japan wins the 3rd title. Q, your thoughts on this one?
I mean, is the World Baseball Classic is the example of what the MLB should be, I think, and especially when you look at talent and just the excitement around the game. I feel like even just live, it felt like looking at the highlights, it seemed like it was a pretty lively crowd. So Major League Baseball should take notes because it's becoming a relic of the past, and the game just needs some excitement. But even Mike Trout not being able to come through in the clutch and get struck out to end the game. I mean, it just you need some more talent. And didn't someone get signed from the World Baseball Classic?
I didn't see if they did.
I feel like I saw a kid end up getting signed after the Classic to a team. I forget what it was though, but
yeah, it was the best baseball game that I've watched.
Mm-hmm. You've been talking about it all week.
Yeah, it definitely was the Shohei Ohtani show. I think he definitely put on a show. I mean, when you think of just being a two-way player, he's a pitcher and also can hit the ball a mile,
quarter mile.
Yeah, like he's able to. He carried Japan in this World Baseball Classic. And people are comparing him to Babe Ruth and all this. And I hate comparisons, but he's one of the best in baseball right now. And then you look at Trey Turner, a guy that was on fire last year. He hit 5 home runs. in the World Baseball Classic.
Sheesh.
Yeah. Like that's for a U.S. player. I mean, for a player for the U.S. team, that's a record. 5 home runs is the record. So Trey was on fire. I thought when he came out, he hit the first home run in to start off the game, and I was like, oh, okay, that's what got me hype. I'm like, all right, USA came to win this thing, but then it was just they had Shohei Ohtani as a closer.
Yeah,
and I'm like, oh, so yeah, it Japan came to play. Like I didn't think Japan could hit as well as they could, and they had some great pitchers that kind of slowed down the USA team, but. Yeah, I just felt like Japan had the much better, pitching.
Showtime Shohei, apparently. Magic Johnson joins big to buy NFL's Washington Commanders. Q, your thoughts on this one?
I mean, I don't think he gets it. I think they said it was some
Canadian billionaire.
Canadian billionaire. That was they were already entertaining. But I'm just wondering how that group does with Magic. And how they would manage an NFL team, and especially an NFL team that you have to basically bring up from the ashes. I mean, you have a new mascot logo, new team name, but then I mean, you really don't have pieces on that team. I mean, they still have with Chase Young on defense. You've got some defenders. But I'm just wondering how this new ownership comes in and makes the Commanders look any different, and especially in such a you could say the NFC East is competitive, and it's getting there. The Giants are getting a little more competitive. The Cowboys always seem to kind of be right there in playoff contention. But I'm just wondering if Magic's group gets it, like, does it turn into like his last ownership situation? So
I think Magic's group. If I'm the Commanders, well, if I'm the league, I'm pushing for Magic's group to get it. I mean, Magic, he had part ownership. I believe he still has part ownership of the Dodgers. He's going into it with a group or a guy that owns the 76ers, I believe.
Sparks
and the LA Sparks. So I mean, if you have that ownership background, you know how to run an organization. And so I think
is baseball different than football though in that ownership?
I don't think so. I mean, owning the team is owning the team. I mean, running a franchise is, I mean, especially the Dodgers. I mean, the Dodgers is one of the top organizations throughout sports. And then of course he knows front office work because of his work with the Lakers.
And that's what the situation I was talking about with the Lakers.
And at the end of the day, Magic Johnson is when you think about business and Black former players owning businesses, you think of Magic Johnson. Like he's the staple of that. So I mean, I think he would be able to do some justice. I mean, with this Lamar Jackson thing, and I know we're going to talk about it, but like would this Lamar Jackson thing be still sitting out there if he owned this team? I would like to say that it wouldn't. I would like to say that, hey, they would have gone out there and thrown the rope back over and said, hey, come on, we're pulling you up by your bootstraps and we're going to make you our QB. Because, I mean, who are they going to go with? Jake Fromm this season?
I don't know. And that's what I'm saying. You wonder how the new ownership group, whatever ownership group it is, how do you pull this team back up?
I think it starts with the QB.
And
you gotta sell jerseys first.
But who? And that's the thing. Like who are they gonna pay? Who do they have room for on the roster? I mean, I don't know their cap situation. But again, the ownership group coming in, it just seems like that Washington team won't be good for the next 2 or 3 years.
But I think it still starts with front office too. You have the owner, then you have the president and GM. And when Jazz and I talked to Martin Mayhew, who is the GM of the Commanders, and why he went and got Eric Bieniemy, he said first and foremost he is a member of the Omega Psi Phi fraternity. and he said, that's my brother. I'm pulling him up. I had to go get him.
Yeah.
So when he said that, I'm like, oh, aha, he gets it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's looking out for his fellow brethren, right? Like, so if that's the motto that they're going with, man, I look for the Commanders to be okay.
And I don't know their position in the draft. I don't know if Roderick can find that real quick, but do you think they go quarterback in the first round?
I was looking at their quarterbacks that they currently have. I mean, you have Sam Howell, Jacoby Brissett, and Jake Fromm.
And they're pick 16.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, if you're gonna go with Sam Howell, I mean, I don't know how far he can take you, right? Like, I mean, the quarterbacks lead the league right now,
and that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I mean,
Not a good
can they
do it?
Can they really turn that organization around? And that's what I worry about for like an Eric Bieniemy coming from having a Patrick Mahomes, having a very, sweet situation, and then moving out to an organization that, I mean, they don't even know who their ownership is right now. So I just hope it doesn't pull the team down too much. Because I would like to see a more competitive NFC East. But I mean, can the Giants and the Commanders really put it together to make it that? And I again, with the ownership question mark right now, I mean, how does this team move forward? And granted, we have 5 months before training camp.
Yeah.
So
I mean, they can make some moves.
Yeah, it's still a while, but I mean, there are some pieces you kind of want in place, especially right after the draft,
one of them
to get things going. And we talked about it in the meeting this week how this offseason looked really different for the Chiefs and the OTAs because Patrick took those guys down to Texas, had a group workout, and those things. And that's as ownership, as a GM, as a coach, you would like to see that from your players. You would like to see them being, more proactive, getting the team chemistry together.
You do.
But how do you do that this offseason?
And I'm looking at their picks. They have a first round, number 16, like Broderick said. Then they have a second round. They have a third round, 97 overall. Fourth round, fifth round, sixth round, seventh round. If I'm the Commanders, I'm giving those up. Like, to whatever I can do to go get me a quarterback.
Why would you give up draft capital?
I want to win now.
How do you win now? That's what I'm saying.
You got to get a quarterback. You got to do whatever you can do. We see all these teams going out and getting their QB of whether it's now or for the future. And I don't think you can win with Sam Howell. I just, granted, they were able to win this past season, but I don't think you can.
But even if they give up all of the picks and everything for the quarterback, then what free agent stock do you have or anything that attracts anybody to come there? And what their wide receiving locker room doesn't look all that hot right now. So what's the attraction to come there if you give up all those picks?
And then what teams would you look at having a fire sale almost, and especially around the draft that may want to gain some future draft capital?
Teams are always looking to get draft picks. I mean, you look at, I think, what did the Ravens want for Lamar? I think they want 2 firsts. I mean, I think they would take a first and a second. Maybe if you put a first, second, and third. I mean, you can do a lot. We've seen the Chiefs, what they can do. We've seen you can do a lot with 4th, 5th, 6th round, and you have a guy there that knows how to do it. So, I mean, I would give it up for Lamar because guys want to play with him. Like,
no, yeah. I mean, he probably brings a certain energy to the locker room, and a certain level of confidence in your quarterback. Again, I don't know if the Sam Howells and I forget the other 2 backups you said, but I mean
Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah, Jacoby Brissett. And Jacoby Brissett, I like that because he's a winner. Like he's not a guy that, and I mean not to crap on Chase Daniels, but I mean he's kind of in that realm of like a Chase Daniel where you would understand if your starter went down 4 or 5 games, he could probably win you 50% of those games, and that's what you would want from your backup, somebody that could come in and really keep the ship moving.
Now, Dawn Staley's doing something right. South Carolina head coach
Yeah.
named Women's Coach of the Year. Q, your thoughts on this one?
I mean, I love it. It shows Dawn Staley's staying power, just in being a star within sports. I mean, we know her as a player, just how like fierce she was, just how like an aggressive competitor she is, and now it's transitioned over into the coaching realm, and I just love the energy that she brings. And I mean, it's well deserved.
Definitely. And I think a lot plays into what we were talking about earlier, the players wanting to run through a wall for her. You see that they have fun. They're having fun up on stage. They're enjoying being around her. And you could tell that comes out in her players. And I think Coach of the Year is the only right term to label them, her and her program right now.
Definitely.
Yeah, when I look at her overall stats as a coach, she's 2-time AP Coach of the Year. She's 2022-23 SEC Coach of the Year, 2-time Naismith Coach of the Year, 3-time U.S. Basketball Women's Association Coach of the Year. Like, she's won Coach of the Year so many times. And her overall record is 757 wins, 572 losses. I'm sorry, 572 wins, 185 losses. So she has a 756% winning percentage.
Sheesh.
Like, that's crazy. And to get her 400th win at South Carolina.
And I wonder how that stacks up against like the Gino Torettas and I forget the lady's name, that
Pat Summitt.
Yeah, I wonder how that stacks up winning percentage wise, because I mean Gino I forget what the name I said. Gino Auriemma. I mean, he was there 30 years. I think Pat Summitt had a good 30 years. So that's a really long time for her to catch up. But I mean, even just looking at, again, the relationship she has with players, the type of competitor she is as a coach, I don't know, those records might come down pretty quick. And I think Pat Summitt the all-time winning coach?
No, she's women? Second. Tara Vanderveer, sorry. She's won 1,099. That was her, how many wins she had. Pat Summitt had 1,098. Gino Auriemma has 1,093. Barbara Stevens has 1,058.
Wow, I thought either Gino or Pat would be at the top of that.
I was thinking Pat. So is she in the GOAT talk category then?
I mean, she's getting there, as you see. I mean, 500 wins, and I mean that's a lot for the amount of time she's been coaching. So
yeah, and I'm looking at just where she is on that list of wins. Had she been coaching, I think South Carolina that many years as some of these other coaches. I mean, we have coaches that are on this list that are like number 53 that's been coaching 24 years, 571 wins. Yeah.
She's climbing pretty quick too.
Yeah. She's not, you got it. To be at the top of this list, I think to break the number 20, she has to win 732 to get in the top 20. Top 10, she has to break 865 wins.
It looks like she's well on track.
Yeah.
Love to see it. Now we're going to take a quick break. Coming up, we'll discuss some more Lamar Jackson tea. Keep it locked in. This is the W Show. We'll be right back.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
Come spin with us, Kansas City. KC WeSpin 360 is the coolest 360 video spinner experience for events. KC WeSpin 360 is taking it to the next level. The 360 video spinner platform rental will be the life of the party. Everyone will be talking about their 360 video experience while bragging about it on their social media pages. The captivating slow motion and reverse effects will have your guests feeling like celebrities. The KC WeSpin 360 video spinner can capture slow-mo videos, GIFs, and boomerangs from every angle. Specializing in corporate events, weddings, social gatherings, bar bat mitzvahs, school events, and fundraisers, KC WeSpin 360 can be found online at KCWeSpin360.com. Come spin with us, Kansas City.
FPS Security is here to secure greater KC protection where you need them most. Social events, birthday parties, corporate events, weddings, small businesses, and more. Call FPS Security at 816-379-3600 or visit fpssecuritykc.com. Licensed, bonded, and insured. Reliable, fast, and professional service.
Football fans, you can't spell gate without Gates, and great tailgates start with Gates sauces and seasonings. Named synonymous with mouth-watering tailgates. When you make your list of tailgate essentials, add Gates sauces and seasonings to that list. Spice up your tailgate experience with that unmistakable great taste. Available in 4 tantalizing flavors: classic, sweet, mild, and hot. Find it at your local grocery, and if you don't see it, ask for it. Visit GatesBarbecue.com to purchase any of the great sauces and seasonings. Great tailgates start with Gates.
You're tuned in to the W with Walls and the Crew, where winning isn't everything. It's the only thing. On 100.1 FM and Facebook Live.
Remember to interact with our show. Use hashtag talk about it. Message us and we'll talk about whatever topic you want. NFL memo warns teams they are prohibited from negotiating with non-NFLPA-certified agents concerning Lamar Jackson. Q, your thoughts on this one?
That's funny. The whole Ken Francis name. It just sounds like a made up name. But I mean, Lamar already denied it basically on Twitter. And he kind of laughed at it. It's funny to see how Lamar really the past couple of weeks has been like directly shooting down a lot of the rumors surrounded around him. I'm just wondering who's manufacturing this type of like controversy behind him, because it's a lot against him.
Yeah.
And again, for a former MVP, a guy that's the caliber of player that he is, I'm not understanding the type of collusion that's going on around the game. But even then, like whoever this guy is, Ken Francis calling around the team saying that he's representing him, it just shows you how absurd the situation is.
Well, I like went down a rabbit hole and kind of dove in a little bit and tried to find out like what was the reason, and we'll get into the bottom of it. So, of course, with the NFLPA, you have to like pass tests to be a part of their, to be an agent to market a player. Reasoning because you don't want just anybody represent a guy in their financials and all that stuff, and you got to be able to read contracts. However, Ken Francis is a friend of Lamar Jackson.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, he is. So Lamar, this story came out. I think it was Tom Pelissero. He put the story out. Lamar denied it. However, a few tweets later, Lamar came back and said, "I want to highlight this product. It's called a Total Gym that Lamar and Ken Francis are in business together." So they put out a whole like infomercial and all that stuff. And so that lets me know like, hey, Ken probably did call around, just say, "Hey, I got Lamar. Are you interested?" Well,
oh wow,
clickbait for their company.
Well, it could be. Well, but you don't have to be an agent to do that. Like you can call and say, "Hey, I'm representing Lamar. Are you interested? We don't need to talk negotiations, but are you interested?" Right? Like there's no rule in the collective bargaining agreement with the NFL CBA. Like you can call and say, "Hey, I have Lamar. I'm repping him. We don't have to talk numbers or anything like that, but I can put you on the phone with them."
So how did this raise a red flag then?
Because the NFL said if they're going to fine, I believe $52,000 or somewhere in that range of, if you go into negotiation talk with this Ken Francis guy, then we're going to fine you. But as long as you don't go into any negotiation talk, you should be okay. I mean, there's they're going to find a way to make it like, no, you can't talk to him at all. But if he's just calling like, "Hey, I'm Lamar's homie, like you need to talk to him."
So is that looking from their perspective, is that a loophole on being like reaching for interest if somebody else talks to you instead of me? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's almost like, okay, you asked my mom if I could spend the night instead of, and see if you get a different answer. Is that what it was from their perspective then? Or?
You know what? I don't know. I mean, even talking to the GM of the Ravens, he said, you know, he was asked the question at the combines, like, all right, what makes it so tough without Lamar having an agent?
Right.
And what it was is the fact that the agent plays as the middleman. And so when you're the middleman and you're talking to these teams, the teams can say things about a player to their agent that they can't normally like say directly to the player.
Right.
It's like, all right, Q, I know you can run and throw fast, but this is what you do that we don't like.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't want to say that to you. I want to say, all right, Jazz, you're representing Q.
Yeah.
This is what we don't like. How can we do that?
Right.
And a lot of people putting in some thought of, okay, Lamar doesn't have an agent. He should probably get an agent. No, he doesn't need an agent. I was listening to something earlier this week that says a part of the Players Association, a player that is not representing by the agent, he can call and say, all right, well, what was the last 5 contracts of a quarterback? What are some of the things in here that I need to look for that I can put into my contract? Can you guys help me, or I can get an outside attorney that can come just look over this contract? These are the things that I want. These are what the last 5 guys have gotten: Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson, who else was in his draft class? Bills quarterback.
Oh yeah.
What did Josh Allen get? I want mine to align with theirs. I don't want any differences, but these are some of the things that I like, and these are what I don't like. Let's put that in the contract and let's roll. Now I don't know what he's asking for, but I'm sure the number of guaranteed is huge, and I know this to be certain that the league does not want a guy of Lamar Jackson's caliber to get a guaranteed deal, because what does that do for agents?
True.
It's like Lamar did it. Lamar did it without an agent.
Yeah.
I know I can do it. So then that kind of takes the agent out of the equation.
Yeah, I mean, get it how you live. I mean, even what's the guy in hockey that did it? The Ovechkin. Like Ovechkin got his deal without an agent.
And there's a bunch of NFL guys I have on my phone. Russell Okung did it. Richard Sherman, DeAndre Hopkins, Jacoby Brissett, Laramie Tunsil just got a huge deal.
Yeah, Tunsil is the one
with the Houston Texans. So I'm like, it can be done.
And even then, I think that argument is a reach, because they're still in that position. There's still so much work to do. I don't think it's necessarily eliminating the agent category, because a lot of them, when you're at that caliber, if you have the money to do it anyways, you're doing it for convenience. You're doing it so that you don't have to deal with that side of it. They can go negotiate everything for you. All you have to do is sign the dotted line.
But you also got to pay them that extra little percent if you want to keep all your bag.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. Wanting to keep that bag and distribute those funds elsewhere. I mean, it's
making a total gym.
But do you think the agent community will take that big of a hit off of that?
Yeah, that's how agents get paid.
I mean, yeah, that's how they get paid. But I also don't see a problem. Exactly. I don't see.
We have a friend of the show who's one of the top agents.
Yeah.
But I mean, again, if a guy feels like he can utilize that money elsewhere, and not on an agent, like, I'm all for that, especially in this new age of like business that we have, especially with these athletes that are able to
write and read.
You could look at a straight look at LeBron. I mean, and what LeBron does off the court, whether it's TV and movie production, a lot of different things. And if you want your money to be working, yes, I would rather 10% of that money go to work for me to get, a bigger bag versus, paying some guy.
Yeah. and I mean, as long as he's not, as long as he's like, I can call and say that I'm, representing this guy, but I'm not gonna go into any numbers or anything like that, because at the end of the day, they just need to get Lamar on the phone.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, they haven't been getting Lamar on the phone. And if he's can be a middleman that can get Lamar on the phone and Lamar discusses his contract and all that stuff, I don't see a problem with it. Like, it to me, it's all these teams that are just like, nah, we don't want this Lamar Jackson deal to happen. We don't want it to be a Deshaun Watson. Which is another reason, if I'm Dan Snyder, I'm giving a huge middle finger to the NFL, and I'm signing him to a guaranteed deal, however much money I can give him. Now, I don't know how that would look with the new ownership coming in. Like, would they want that? Do they have any stipulations on we're only buying a team if, so.
Yeah, I'm for it. Like, I like that idea. It especially for Eric Bieniemy, but how do you I don't know how you move forward as an organization like the Ravens and the type of relationship that they've established.
You can't.
I mean, because they didn't go above and beyond to get him weapons. It was like we talked about with the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes, how he always has to play Superman, and Lamar Jackson can do that, but you don't want your quarterback to do that. You want these pieces around him so that he can showcase his talents throughout the season versus blowing a gasket through week 8 and 10 when you're beat up late in the season. I don't know. I hate it for Lamar because family environment, it's not looking very family around there. And for him to still be at this crossroads of, when and who is going to pay me like that, it's unacceptable. So again, a lot of the negative press just around him being a free agent, things look really suspicious, and I'm not. I just hate it for Lamar because he's way too good to be on the shelf like that.
Now, on that note, we're going to take a quick break. Coming up, we'll dive into our Hate or Love It segment, kick it off with the Sneakers of the Week. This is the W Show. We'll be right back.
You're tuned in to the W with Walls and the Crew, where winning isn't everything. It's the only thing. On 100.1 FM and Facebook Live.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
Come spin with us, Kansas City. KC WeSpin 360 is the coolest 360 video spinner experience for events. KC WeSpin 360 is taking it to the next level. The 360 video spinner platform rental will be the life of the party. Everyone will be talking about their 360 video experience while bragging about it on their social media pages. The captivating slow motion and reverse effects will have your guests feeling like celebrities. The KC WeSpin 360 video spinner can capture slow-mo videos, GIFs, and boomerangs from every angle. Specializing in corporate events, weddings, social gatherings, bar bat mitzvahs, school events, and fundraisers, KC WeSpin 360 can be found online at kcwespin360.com. Come spin with us, Kansas City.
FPS Security is here to secure greater KC protection where you need them most. Social events, birthday parties, corporate events, weddings, small businesses, and more. Call FPS Security at 816-379-3600 or visit fpssecuritykc.com. Licensed, bonded, and insured. Reliable, fast, and professional service.
Football fans, you can't spell gate without Gates, and great tailgates start with Gates sauces and seasonings. Named synonymous with mouth-watering tailgates. When you make your list of tailgate essentials, add Gates sauces and seasonings to that list. Spice up your tailgate experience with that unmistakable great taste. Available in 4 tantalizing flavors. Classic, sweet, mild, and hot. Find it at your local grocer, and if you don't see it, ask for it. Visit GatesBarbecue.com to purchase any of the great sauces and seasonings. Great tailgates start with Gates.
You're tuned in to the W with Walls and the Crew, where winning isn't everything. It's the only thing. On 100.1 FM and Facebook Live.
Remember to interact with our show. Use hashtag #TalkAboutIt messages, and we'll talk about whatever topic you want.
It's that time for Love It or Hate It.
Hate it.
If we love it, we talk about it. If we hate it, we move on.
Starting off our sneakers of the week, we got the Nike Air Max 1 86 Big Bubble.
Love these.
I
like these.
They're all right. Nike Air Zoom Generation First Game.
If there were any LeBron James shoes that I would get, it would be these.
Hate it. Not a fan. Billie Eilish, Nike Air Force One Low Triple
Trash.
White.
Dope. These are dope.
Easy.
Yeah.
Yep.
These
Nike
are
Dunk
dope.
Mid Off Noir.
Yeah. Yep. I like these.
I'm not a fan. I'm
Yeah,
not a
I
fan.
only like the Air Max this week.
Air Max Day's coming on Sunday.
Hey,
Tomorrow.
I'll definitely rock them.
Yep.
All right. Beyonce and Adidas mutually agreed to part ways. Hate it or love it.
I love it.
I mean, I love it too, just
I
because
love
she
it.
wants her creative ability.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
she doesn't like the way that they were creating her stuff, and I think she wants to be able to do it on her own.
Yeah. Demand what you want, girl.
We talk about keeping the bag.
And she could hire her own designers, so that, I mean,
I'm excited to see what heat comes out. Mets launch City Field Cadillac Club, $25K for top seat. Hate it or love it.
Sheesh.
Love it.
The rich get
25K.
richer.
yeah.
Cadillac Club. So I got to drive a Cadillac to be able to get up in this joint.
Tom Brady acquires ownership interest in defending WNBA champions Las Vegas Aces. Hate
I like
it or
that.
love it.
I really like that.
I love this. Yeah. And yeah, I love it. I love that.
I'm loving it. Deion Sanders is making the entire team wear blank jerseys until they earn a number. Hate it or love it.
It's over the top, but okay.
Yeah. It's cool. Just listening to, you guys have to go, and I'll post this to our Facebook page later on, but go and listen to that speech that he gave his team of like wearing number, why you cannot wear number 0. He's going to give out the number 1. And then number 2, he can't give that out
to his son.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was dope how he just talked about wearing and they have to earn it. So
I mean, I can respect it. Foot Locker closing 400 shopping mall locations to prioritize better earning stores. Hate it or love it.
I think I hate it, but I mean,
you can't even go nowhere and buy a pair of sneakers now. You
Yeah.
got to buy them online. Like, come on, bro.
Oh, what you got against Champs? Nah, I'm joking. I'm joking.
I mean,
The
all those
colorways.
brands, it's 3 brands: Champs,
Yeah.
Foot Locker, and Foot Action. They're all going to be closing.
Oh, sheesh. I guess
Yeah.
I guess I never realized.
Started
that,
with East
so-
Bay. Now they go.
Okay.
Started from the bottom. Now we here.
A Texas chain is hoping to be the top golf of baseball. Hate it or love it.
I loved it when I first read it, but then I got to like dive in a little bit deeper down into this thing. Like, it's crazy because if it's like Top Golf, you expect to just be able to rock home runs over a fence. This is like some you got to hit into a screen and simulator.
I'm not going.
Let me hit it over the. I want to see how far I can hit a baseball.
Yeah, tell me how it is.
Yeah. I will definitely have to tap in though. I'm just there for the interesting factor. Like, switch it up. Golf's not really my thing, so I'll try baseball.
Yeah, but you want to be able to like see how far you can hit a baseball or a softball.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
True.
Let me put that fence out there at 500 feet. Let me see how close I can
and
get.
is it on a tee or is it a pitching machine?
It's neither. It's like you have the it's simulator. So like, you know how you got the golf. Yeah, it's simulator. Oh, so you hit into a screen.
Get this out of my face.
Now, make sure you tap in. We've got a little segment going on this month for Women's History Month. Our Girl Power conversation. We've got another awesome guest coming on today. So make sure you tap in. We're talking with a lot of influential women around the community that are working in male-dominant fields or just really popping off. So make sure you tap in and see what we're talking about with the Girl Power conversation.
Yeah, how many guests you got coming up?
We got at least 2 more guests coming up. So we'll wrap up this month. And it'll be really cool. It's been really awesome being able to talk to some powerful women in the community. for sure.
Definitely. And is there a way we can like keep this growing throughout the year? Is this something you're trying to build on? Like,
Yeah.
how does this look in the future?
We've got a couple things brewing. So this will hopefully just be the beginning of the iceberg, the tip of the iceberg. And then we'll be able to tap in with a bunch of different guests, not just limiting to women. So we'll be doing some things with the KC Current, Sporting KC. Soccer players, of course, have been kind of my focus, but other than that, we'll have a lot of exciting guests. Of course, you can find it on Instagram, Facebook, all the platforms. So tap in.
Definitely.
Sounds fun.
It is fun. We have a good time. What are you guys doing the rest of the day?
Got a couple of things going. Of course, you're doing a recording your next guest.
Yep.
And then I think we got sporting today.
Yep.
Watching some basketball.
We're all over.
That's about it.
Cute.
Yeah, I think I have time to watch some basketball today, so that might be that might be on the agenda.
K-State's playing, baby.
Ooh, tomato.
What they say? EMAW. What's EMAW stand for?
Every man a Wildcat.
Okay.
You will not hear me say it. You will not hear me say it.
One time for the one time.
Cut it. Cast is over. Cut it.
We appreciate, as always, we appreciate everyone who joined in on today's show. Remember, you can use hashtag talk about it, like us on all social media platforms. And until next week, we are out of here. Peace.
The views and opinions expressed on the W Radio Show by the host, co-host, guests, and call-in listeners are solely the opinions and responsibility of the original source who expressed them. They do not represent the opinions of the W Show, 100.1 FM, One Kansas City Radio, Sideline Sports Talk, Team Wall Street Foundations, or affiliates.